Hey, what's going on, guys? Brent here with CPC Bodybuilding, and today we're going to be previewing the New York Pro and Men's Classic Physique. I got a special guest to preview the show with me. My special guest today is IFBB Classic Physique Pro, Kenn Silcott. Kenn, welcome to CPC Bodybuilding. Thanks for joining, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to get into this New York Pro preview. As you know, it's a show I did last year. It's my pro debut, so I've seen a lot of these guys up close in person, and I think this is going to be a very interesting competition this year.
Absolutely, man. Well, let's go ahead and jump into it. So, as y'all can see, I've got the New York Pro lineup pulled up right here. So, it's this Saturday, May 20th. Prejudging is at 8 a.m. Eastern, finals are at 4 p.m. Eastern. Big show, one of the most prestigious in the IFBB. Big lineup, lots of Olympians in this lineup. Going to be a really good one. So, we'll start out with our first competitor, and that is Eric Avalon out of Upper Chichester, Pennsylvania. And Eric's a guy I'm pretty familiar with. He's
Hmm.
kind of on the rise here in classic physique. I think he's got a fantastic structure. He last appeared at the Atlantic Coast Pro and he took top five there. So just a short time ago, hasn't had that long of an off season. But Kenn, just from a couple of these photos, what do you think about Eric's physique?
I like Eric's physique a lot. I actually know him as well. He's a very good dude too. Um, I think that his appendages are world class. So quads, hamstrings, arm development, shoulder development, it's all world class. It's really phenomenal. Where he lacks to me is back development overall, and I think that's what hurts him a little bit. When you talk about like cracking a top five in a pro show or like doing well at a show like the Olympia or the Arnold Classic, maybe a little bit more glute development, but definitely back. And it's because his arms and his shoulders are so good, it overshadows his back. It makes his back look narrower than it actually is, in my opinion. But this is a phenomenal physique. I think these are really world-class arms and shoulders, and the legs do match.
So that is Eric Avalon. Next up, we've got Surul Altandaril. He made his debut at the Pittsburgh Pro last week, where he placed 10th. He's out of the Chicago area, Mongolian American. So originally from Mongolia, but he's based out of Chicago now. And one thing I really like about Surul's physique is it's deceivingly dense. And I mean, you can kind of see here I
Yeah.
don't really think this does him justice, but seeing him in person last week, he's a shorter guy, turned pro in Class A, which is the shortest class of classic physique.
Mhm.
But I think he's just got great structure as well, and you can kind of see it here. He's granted in these Olympia amateur,
Mhm.
photos, a bit smaller, just given that the weight cap is about 15 pounds difference compared to the pro weight cap. But what do you see when you look at his physique?
Great structure. Just very good structure. He's very balanced. Um, I don't fully remember what he looked like for the Pittsburgh Pro, so you'll have to pull up some of those pictures. Here he looks a little bit undersized, but I do know based on the pictures I did see at Pittsburgh, he did put on a lot more muscle. And I think you hit the nail on the head. He's very dense for somebody of that stature, especially in the glutes and ham area. You can see he has very well developed adductors. This is a very good package.
Yeah, here's a photo that I think does him a little bit more justice. He just looks a lot fuller here, and that's
Yeah,
he's touching his weight cap already. So
which is going to be the tricky part because when you're so close to the weight cap, how do you make noticeable improvements, right? You don't have much weight in pounds to really work with. But I think that this is a very balanced physique, and it doesn't really need much by way of muscle development. He is very dense, and this is a very pretty structure.
yeah, so that is Surul Altandaril. Next up, we got Zeke Andrews, and this is a guy who I think could be a bit of a wild card here. His
Agree.
his best appearance in his pro career was a second place at the 2021 New York Pro.
Yep.
Ken, what stands out to you about Zeke?
So what stands out to me most about Zeke is going to be conditioning. At the 2021 New York Pro, he was wildly conditioned. And I think if you're going to compete against a guy like Michael Debool, that's you're going to need to be shredded because if you're not, Michael Debool is so shredded. He's gonna make your average conditioning look fat, right? And that's this he I feel like Zeke Andrews is going to be one of the few guys who can withstand that level of conditioning because he brings a very similar package from a conditioning standpoint. He also has very good leg density, as you can see in that side chest pose right there. You have very good density in the arms. And he poses really well. He has the look, there is it's very debatable what that look is, but I would say there is a look to classic, and he definitely has that it for classic. You can even see the great development in the quads. He's just very separated and very detailed. And that year off, I believe he took the whole of 2022 off. That year off is only going to help his development. I'm really excited to see what he looks like on stage because he was able to push Danny Younan in 2021, who was a much bigger classic physique bodybuilder, and he pushed him just off shape, conditioning, and really good posing. That's what got him that second place. And I had him as my wild card going into the show as well. I think he's looking at another top 5 placing.
So that is Zeke Andrews out of Stuart, Florida. Next up, we got Bionic Body, but his government name is Edgar John Augustine, and he took 14th at the Pittsburgh Pro last week. And one thing that I notice about Bionic Body is he just has great quads. I love his quad detail, and he's a really tall guy. You don't really, notice it just from Instagram, but seeing him in person, man, he just towers over people. So also great arms too. Biceps are fantastic. And he's just one of those guys that I don't think photos necessarily do him all the justice. He does have a tremendous classic physique, great lat spread there as well. So looking forward to see what he can put together here at the New York Pro. Next up, we've got Curlin Batbayar. Now, he is also out of Mongolia. So I showed Surul Altandaril, who's from Mongolia. Both of these guys turned pro at the Amateur Olympia last year. Now, Curlin won Class B and Surul won Class A and the overall. So the Mongolian invasion here, these guys are just tremendous when it comes to classic physique, classic structure.
Wow.
What do you see when you look at these photos of Curlin?
This is very aesthetic and very dense. This is just grade A structure, and because he's in Class B, he's going to be a little bit bigger than Surul. This is going to be very competitive right here. So I'm not familiar with this competitor. This is my first time seeing him, but right off the bat, looking at these pictures, his from the front and the side, we have some really good full muscle bellies along with A1 structure. This is pretty impressive. Do you know what his age is?
I honestly have no idea. It's kind of a guessing game sometimes with the guys you haven't met. So, but yeah, I'm a huge fan of Curlin's physique. He's one of those guys who very well could surprise a lot of people in this lineup.
Yeah, I think with a guy like that, he has the structure, he has the shape. It's really going to be a matter of does he have that top 5 level conditioning? Conditioning is really, really big in classic physique.
Absolutely. All right, so next up we got Brandon Cooper out of Georgetown, Texas. And Brandon took 7th place at Pittsburgh last week. So this is here in the second call out with some of the guys that we've already gone through. Standing next to Surul Altandaril, Callum Hinzo out of Australia. And these photos are a bit blurry. Let's go to something that's a touch clearer. So this is a stage shot. What do you notice about Brandon's physique that stands out to you?
Good structure from this shot right here is very balanced. Upper body and lower body are pretty balanced right here. It's a very good vacuum. Do we have any more shots? Let's see.
Double.
Yeah, we got some good balance going on. Very good adductor development. His very thick adductors actually. Very good arm development. Could use a little bit more chest in that pose right there. The chest kind of flattens out in the front double bi. Very tiny waist. It's very exceptional. He has a very good X frame.
Hoping to find some side shots. Here's okay, from the back.
Very good conditioning right there.
Yeah. So that's Brandon Cooper. I think he's got a tremendous ceiling in classic.
I agree.
One of those guys who he's just got the frame for the division. Just a bigger dude and just great structure overall. Very sharp with the condition. So he's another guy to watch out for here at New York. And next up, we've got probably the favorite heading into the show.
Mhm.
Ken mentioned him a little bit earlier. That is Michael Debool. He just won the Pittsburgh Pro last week in a split decision over Eric Wildberger. And this is a photo, or a video rather, from this afternoon posing at Bev Francis Powerhouse Gym, the East Coast Mecca. He got to pose in front of Big Steve today, who is the IFBB Pro head judge and will be judging this show. So, what stands out to you about Michael Debool?
One, it's always going to be conditioning. That's what he's known for. He has to be, man, if not the most conditioned guy in the division, definitely right up there in that top tier with like a Bumstead or a Ramon Dino as far as conditioning is concerned. This is tremendous. There are striations and lines everywhere. I don't even think this video does him justice. But the biggest thing that sticks out to me is the improvements he was able to make in his posterior chain. His back is so much more upgraded than it was just even at the Olympia last year. He made a lot of improvements. I always thought that he looked extremely conditioned and it came at the price of muscle fullness. But at the Pittsburgh Pro, he is full and he is still shredded out of his mind. Like, this is a very impressive Michael Debool right here.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. The really big difference here is the fullness that he brought, and his condition is still just as good as it's ever been. So,
Like, that rear double is going to be extremely hard to beat at the New York Pro. That is a really good rear double bicep from top to bottom. Even that pose right there, the detail in the lower back, the glute, the hamstring, his adductors are detailed from the back. That's terrifying conditioning right there.
absolutely. So that is Michael Debool. Next up, another challenger, probably going to be fighting for one of those top spots.
Yes.
The best classic physique competitor out of Colombia, that's Camilo Diaz, an Olympian in 2022, won the Mid USA Pro. What stands out when you look at Camilo's physique?
Bursting fullness and also size. I actually competed against Camilo at New York Pro last year. And the thing that really jumped out to me is he is a lot bigger in person than he looks in video and photos. I mean, like a lot bigger. He almost looks like an open guy in person. He's so full and round and just bubbly and he just looks massive. He's a very big guy, a very big classic guy, but his waist is still in control and in check. I think he's battling for one of the top spots. Um, he's probably going to go neck and neck with like Alexander Westermeyer.
So that's Camilo Diaz right there.
A little bit sharper conditioning would definitely do him justice in some of these shots. It could also be his tanning in combination with that lighting.
Yeah. All right. So moving on to our next competitor, that is Javier Duarte.
Oh, I got it. There we go. Okay.
All right. So here we got Javier Duarte.
Oh, man.
Took
Okay.
13th at the Puerto Rico Pro in 2019. So Ken, what do you see when you look at Javier's physique?
From this pose right here, this incredibly impressive arms from that one shot. That those are really impressive biceps. His brachioradialis is exceptionally developed. We have a very detailed midsection. What I would say is from the lower body is not matching the upper body from a conditioning and development standpoint. That would be my only knock against him right here based on this photo that I'm seeing. Let's take a look at a front double. Yeah.
And this front double is the biceps are just nuts.
Well, yeah. And you know what? It's like a gift and a curse. Like every guy wants massive arms like that. And then the curse part is your legs, even if they are very impressive, if they don't match the arms, it does create this discrepancy visually that make it feel like the legs don't match. And I feel like that's kind of what's going on here. But this is great structure. I do see what you're saying with the midsection being a little bit blockier, but I think bringing up the legs will help to create that X frame illusion. Those really are impressive arms.
Yeah. So that is Javier Duarte. Next up, another wild card, probably the most hyped guy going into this show. This is Matthew Grego out of Central Pennsylvania, and he's making his classic debut, a men's physique pro. And I want to say his best finish as a men's physique pro was in the top 5. I think it was at Optimum in 2021. It's been a minute since he's been on stage, but he's working with Chris Aceto. When you look at some of his photos, what stands out to you about his physique?
A lot of muscularity. This is a very muscular classic physique competitor. It's very unexpected too for him to display this level of muscularity through the lower body coming from men's physique. So I definitely applaud him. This is a very, very good transition for him. Just based on these photos alone, obviously he hasn't stepped on stage yet as a classic competitor, but I would say he's found his new home. I would say the classic physique division is definitely where he belongs. He has very good muscularity. His legs are very well developed. Um, he has the shape, he has the proportion, the posing is on point. For him, it's going to be in a lot of these videos and photos, he looks extremely conditioned, and it's just going to be a matter of does this conditioning translate to the stage? Does he look as detailed in these photos and videos on stage, standing next to a Michael Debool or Zeke Andrews, who we've already seen on stage?
Yeah, completely agree there. I think what the biggest point I'm trying to really calculate in my mind is he going to be able to match up size wise? Because there are a lot of big bodies in this lineup. And
Yes.
I think his actual biggest critique in men's physique was he needed more size. So I'm going to be intrigued to see if he put on all that size in just a year and a half, but I'm certainly very hopeful, and I totally agree. Definitely a classic physique competitor through and through.
I actually saw him backstage, I want to say in October, at an NPC show. We spoke for a little bit. He was very big then, I would say. So I'm gonna lean toward he will be on the money size wise. I think for him it's gonna be about conditioning.
Yeah. So that is Matthew Grego. Next up, we've got Jorge Guerrero out of Mexico, and he placed top three at the Texas Pro last year. Placed a little bit lower at the San Antonio Pro, which was after the Texas Pro. But at that Texas Pro, we saw that Jorge has the ability to hang with Olympians. The only two guys who beat him both went to the Olympia last year, or well, one of them decided to not compete but qualified. So that's Courage O'Hara. Then the
Okay.
other one was Valentin Petrov. So he was able to hang with some really solid classic physique competitors. And what I see when I look at Jorge is just great structure. He's a taller guy. I believe he's about 6 foot, maybe 6'1",
Okay.
and has tremendous lats that insert very low. That's the thing that I noticed first. Great quads. The sweeps are very detailed, and just broad shoulders as well, small waist. Really all you want in a classic physique. I think really the biggest critique was probably bringing up the arms. I think that might be the one thing that was holding him back a little bit. Um, but Jorge definitely has the ability to make. I could see him here in the second call out in top 10. So that is Jorge Guerrero out of Mexico. Next up, we've got Callum Hinzo out of Australia. He made his pro debut last week at the Pittsburgh Pro, placing 11th. And what do you see when you look at Cal's physique?
Your eyes instantly gravitate toward the tiny waist. That is a very, very small waist. That I imagine that's definitely like 28. That's what 28-inch waist. This is a very good X frame. He has the quads that match the arms. He's very detailed. His adductors are detailed. His hamstrings are detailed. The glutes are detailed. Lower back shredded. He could probably be a little bit wider with a little bit more upper back development. That's me nitpicking. This is a very good physique. I really like the shape for classic physique. This is a very aesthetic physique. It's actually my first time seeing him as well.
Yeah, I think he's got a very bright future, and with time, I think he's got the frame. It's just a matter of adding
Yeah,
muscle. So that is Callum Hinza out of Australia. Next up, we've got Junior Javorski, another guy I think who's going to be battling for a top spot, a
I agree.
2022 Olympian, placed sixth at this past year's Arnold Classic. And what do you like about Junior's physique?
Density and conditioning. He's another guy that I think is going to be able to hang with the Michael DeBools in conditioning. He's very conditioned at the Olympia. I think he placed 16th, but it was still a very, very, very good package. Like this is A1 structure right here. We got the small waist. He's hitting the vacuum. The abs are still very developed. You can see the abs, although he's hitting a vacuum. He's got bursting full quads. They're immaculately detailed. Arm development is really good. It's hard to spot a flaw in Junior Javorski. I think he, I think He will lose to guys with prettier structure, but this is an all around world class bodybuilder in my opinion.
That is Junior Javorski out of Brazil. Next up, we've got Hubert Koczinski out of Poland. And this is a guy who I think it's really hard to figure out what to expect. So he competed at the Muscle Contest Ireland last week. Didn't really place as high as he had hoped to, but he's definitely capable of placing in a first call out. He took second to Mike Sommerfeld at the 2021 Poland Pro Show, which, I mean, placing second to Mike Sommerfeld is definitely no small feat, and there were multiple Olympians in that lineup. Really, I think the biggest thing here is his condition going to be comparable? Because if you look at this photo, this was from that Poland show where he placed second.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at this photo from last week, granted, you're looking at different lighting. This doesn't have stage lighting, but to me, I think the condition from the back is definitely there. It looks very hard. And the skin is pressing, or the muscle is pressing against the skin. However, I think this side shot, and if you look at the front shots, it's not quite as good as it could be. I think doesn't have any of the front shots here, but when I was looking at show photos, didn't quite look as sharp as it could have been. But that's Hubert Koczinski. Next up, we've got Tyler. I'm going to make sure I say this correctly. Where's his name? Yeah. Okay. Tyler Okowinski. So this is his pro debut as well. So he won his pro card at the 2020 North Americans in Masters 35 plus class C. So what do you see when you look at Tyler's physique here?
Density. This is a dense guy right here. Very vascular. He's looking very full here. If you yeah, see that's world class density. I feel like this guy's gonna bring very good conditioning, size, and muscle maturity, which a lot of guys may not be able to compete with. He may need to bring the legs up a little bit to match the arms, at least in the front shots. But this is going to be a very deadly physique as well. That's some world class density right there.
So that is Tyler Okowinski out of Canada. Next up, we got Ricky Palmer. So Ricky last appeared at the Tampa Pro in 2021, took 7th place there, and that was a pretty stacked lineup. 3 Olympians in that lineup. Here's a photo from that show. And when you look at the front double, what stands out to you about his physique?
Very good arms, very good bicep development, very good tricep development. Could probably use a little bit more chest so that way it doesn't look flat in that pose. And the quads match as well. I think bigger lats would also help him here in this pose as well. He looks a tad bit narrow, but again, when you have really large arms, that's a part of what comes with the territory of having really big arms. But I think this is a very dense physique as well. Yeah, looking at this picture as well, I'm gonna say width is what's gonna help this physique the most. He has the quads that match the shoulders and arms though.
So that is Ricky Palmer. Next up, we've got Herbert Sarita Sotillo, and his last appearance was at the 2021 New York Pro, where he took 14th place. So what I notice here is very solid lats, but I think probably the weaknesses appendages need to come up. So legs, probably also bring those together, but probably slap some adductors on there.
Yeah,
a little bit more tricep, I would say, but very good structure, vacuum solid. I think from looking at this photo,
I agree. I think you hit the nail on the head with this one.
So that is Herbert Sarita Sotillo. Next up is Rob Van Sant. He took 8th at Pittsburgh last week, and he's a guy who is tremendously improved. Let's just look at these right here. So this is Toronto in 2022, which was his pro debut, and this is Pitt, which was last week here on the right. if you look at this is a 10-pound difference, and there's a bit difference in stage lighting and slight difference in condition, but this is an 8th place finish on the right with multiple Olympians, 4, probably going to be 5 after this week, with Eric Wildberger likely winning the optimum show. But what do you see when you look at Rob's physique?
A lot of improvements between these two photos. That 10 pounds went straight to chest, arms, and shoulders right there. That's a lot of improvement. Also, glute development as well. I need to see a back photo. However, based on the two that I just saw, the conditioning definitely needs to come up to hang with some of these top tier pros, especially at the New York Pro. I don't think this conditioning, uh, he needs a lot more detail in the lower body, the hamstrings, adductors, definitely the glutes. You definitely never want to see the folds in the glute. That's definitely an indicator that his body fat is still a little bit too high. However, he has good structure. His hamstrings have a good hang to them. He has a very good hamstring drop. He could probably use a little bit more back width, but I think this is a very good structure, and he has a lot of potential based on these photos.
That is Rob Van Sant. Next up, we've got Alexander Westermeyer. He took 3rd at Pittsburgh last week. He won the 2022 Pittsburgh Pro, which is this video right here, which took him to the Olympia. And he was a touch off last week. I would say he's probably at about 90%. Could have been sharper with the condition, which is ultimately what put him behind Eric Wildberger and Michael Debool in my mind. Now, if we see this condition again, I think Westermeyer is going to give Michael Debool a run for his money. What do you think?
I can definitely agree with that. I think Alex is deceivingly large. He's another competitor that looks much bigger in person, much bigger on stage than he does in video and photo. So the size advantage is definitely going to be there. I still think Michael Debool's rear is just incredible. However, Alex's structure may be a little bit more superior. You look at this vacuum. This is a very aesthetic physique here. But yeah, I think if he brings this conditioning right here, oh man, he's definitely going to give Michael a run for his money.
So that is Alexander Westermeyer out of Germany. Next up, we've got Jeremiah Willies. This is his pro debut. He turned pro last year at North Americans in Masters 35 plus bodybuilding. So a very dense, thick physique from what I'm seeing right here. Very solid quads. I really like the lat tie-in with the waist. Very solid structure, balance, proportion. Basically exactly what you want in classic. I think the big question mark here is he going to be able to hang with the rest of the guys in terms of size, and then is the condition going to be sharp? So
I,
that is
I agree. I think this is he has a very old school looking physique. He has like one of those 80s bodybuilder physiques, like a Robbie Robinson kind of I think it may be the way he's posing too. I like this physique a lot. I think yeah, it really does boil down to does he have the pro level conditioning and size?
that is Jeremiah Willies. And lastly, we've got Andrew Wilson. So this is a guy who I think could be a wild card, mix things up a little bit. He took 3rd at the Boston Pro last year behind 2 Olympians, Tony Duong and Urs Kaliczynski. And what do you see when you look at Andrew's physique?
Very, very good chest development. That's a very impressive chest size. The upper chest is developed. It's very striated. Very good arm development. Very good shoulder development. He looks very conditioned from this photo. I probably need to see more photos as well. Let's see the lower body.
That is right there.
Yeah, I would say the upper body is overpowering the lower body a little bit. So I think to hang with a lot of these guys, he's gonna have to bring the lower body up a little bit, specifically the quads. But you know, I'm nitpicking. This is a good physique as well. I like the ab development. He has a tiny waist. His arms and his chest are very impressive.
All right, so that is Andrew Wilson. So what we'll do now is we will make our picks. So what we're going to do is Kenn and I are going to alternate. So we'll start out with our 5th pick, go to the next person, and then we'll do 4th, 3rd, and then second, and eventually pick our winner. So, Ken, do you want to do the honors first, or would you like me to, since you're the guest?
I want you to go first.
All right, sounds good, man. So, in fifth place, this is one I really struggled with,
Yeah.
but eventually I settled on Matt Grego. I think Matt is going to look very solid in his classic debut. I really like his structure, his shape. I think his condition's going to be there. I think really the only thing that might uh, place him outside of the top three and probably in that fifth spot
Mhm.
is I just think these guys who are in the top three are going to be bigger bodies and they're just going to outsize them a little bit. That's just my opinion. I do think anything can happen here, and Matt has the structure to hang with anybody. So I like Matt Grego here in fifth place.
I actually agree with that. I think his size will definitely be very competitive with a lot of these guys. But I think for me, what's really going to get him to the top five is structure. He just has the look. The waist is small, the quads are developed, the arms are in balance. Everything is really on point with him. I really believe it's just a matter of matching that top tier conditioning, that Michael Debool conditioning. That's really another level right there.
All right. So both have Matt Grego in fifth place. Now in fourth place, I've got Camilo Diaz out of Colombia. Tremendous size, lots of density, fullness, and I think really the difference here is going to be width. Camilo's not quite as wide as the guys that I have placing ahead of him. So I've got Camilo here in fourth place, but he's another guy who has the capability of winning the show in my mind.
Yeah, I can see that. I think he might fall a little bit lower because of the addition of Zeke Andrews. And I think Zeke Andrews may be who places fourth, just I'm going based off his previous New York Pro placing. Obviously, it wasn't against these guys. However, that was an incredible showing for him at, I believe, a very similar venue.
Yes.
Um, I think he has that top tier conditioning and he has the shape. Camilo will definitely outsize him, but I believe that he's going to have the superior structure and conditioning.
All right. So we got Zeke Andrews in fourth place for Ken. My third place finisher is going to be Junior Javorski. I really like his structure, a big frame, lots of width. He's going to bring the condition. And I think a very comparable physique to Eric Wildberger, who gave Michael Debool a run for his money last week. Although I would say Eric Wildberger is a bit more complete than Junior is. But I'm going to say Junior here in third place just because I think he's got the condition and the size to hang with Debool and the guy who I'm placing in second. So, who is your third pick?
Actually, my third too. I have it written down right here, so I'm like looking back and forth. I had a feeling we were going to do this. Yeah, and third, I have Junior Javorski as well. Just he's so complete in my opinion. It's really just a matter of is his structure more superior than the other guys, and does he bring the same level of conditioning they bring? So I also have him in third. I think it's going to be very hard to beat his density, and if someone is off, he can easily creep into second, and he can creep into first place if Michael is off as well.
All right. So, in third place, Ken and I both have Junior Javorski. So, my second place pick is going to be Alexander Westermeyer out of Germany. He took third at Pittsburgh last week. Like I said, probably at about 90%. And he can come in a lot sharper. If he improves his condition even slightly from this week, I think he can definitely push Michael Debool. Is his condition going to be as good as Debool's? I doubt it, but he has great structure, great lines, and I like him here in second place.
I agree. That's also who I have written down here for second, Alex. Um, I think, yeah, you hit the nail on the head. If he can bring the conditioning up and be as sharp as he was when he won the Pittsburgh Pro last year, he's definitely going to give Michael Debool a run for his money. I do believe that he has the superior structure. He has the more aesthetic physique. Um, I feel like Michael Debool is not going to be off. So I feel like Alex is going to have to be 100% on. I think he's going to have to be much improved. Michael Debool from the rear is very impressive with the conditioning and the fullness that he brought. I think Michael is going to have to be off for Alex to supersede him.
Yeah, I completely agree. And that's why I've got Michael Debool winning the New York Pro right after winning the Pittsburgh Pro. I think his condition and fullness combination is just too difficult to beat. And, I think Alex could push him, but making that big of a jump in condition in just 1 week, I think anybody who's been there and done it knows it's very hard to improve condition in just 1 week. So I think Michael Debool is going to win his fifth pro show and take this year's New York Pro.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And hats off to him because he competes a lot and it's very difficult to make improvements when you compete that often. So hats off to him because what he looked like at Pittsburgh is not what he looked like last year. And that to me, that's a very short off season to make that much improvement in your whole posterior chain. So hats off to the work that he did with his coach.
Absolutely. So you guys heard it here. That's our top five. We both got Michael Debool out of the UK winning this year's New York Pro. So that's going to do it for the preview today. Now, Ken, where can the people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at KennSilcott, Ken Silcott. You can also find me on my website, www.coachken.com.
All right, guys, you heard it here. And this is going to conclude the New York Pro preview. I want to thank you all for watching another video with CPC Bodybuilding. Make sure y'all keep it classic. See you.
Take care, guys.